Hello, I'm Esther Kabab. Welcome to Africa 54. Here's what's coming up. International pressure mounts on Israel to show restraint in responding to Iran's aerial attacks. On the first anniversary of Sudan's war, donors pledged more than $2 billion for the war-torn country. And in our health report, millions of men worldwide are regularly diagnosed with prostate cancer. A health expert tells us what we need to know. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. All eyes are on the Middle East after Iran attacked Israel with a bevy of drones and missiles over the weekend. That attack has inflamed concerns of a wider regional war. VOA's Anita Powell reports from the White House.
Iraq's leader already had lots of ground to cover with President Joe Biden before this weekend's stunning Iranian attack on Israel raised fears of a wider regional war. Even though the U.S. is describing the aerial assault as a failure, Iraq's leader acknowledged that the conflict between Israel and Hamas is a major concern in the region.
We are actually very eager about stopping this war, which claimed the lives of thousands of civilians, women, and children. And we encourage all the efforts about stopping the expansion of the area of conflict.
The two nations have a delicate relationship after decades of U.S. military involvement in Iraq. U.S. anti-aircraft assets in northern Iraq were used to shoot down some of the Iranian missiles. Biden said Iraq, a longtime adversary of Iran, has a role to play in maintaining peace.
Simply put, our partnership is pivotal for our nations, for the Middle East, and I believe for the world.
Earlier Monday, al-Sudani's deputy met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and both hailed the regional cooperation that thwarted the attack and urged de-escalation.
And I think what this weekend demonstrated is that Israel did not have to and does not have to defend itself alone when it is the victim of an aggression, the victim of an attack. In the 36 hours since, we have been coordinating a diplomatic response to seek to prevent escalation. Strength and wisdom need to be the same sides, the different sides of the same coin.
We call on all parties for self-restraint and respect the rules and also international norms that we set.
No major bilateral moves were announced Monday, but analysts say there are things Iraqi leadership can do.
Iraq needs to make its preference for reduced escalation clear, and that's both talking to the Iranians, but also talking to other Arab states and talking to the United States that this is negative from Iraq's point of view, and that it wants all the powers to take responsible action to try to reduce escalation.
As Israel mulls its response, regional actors are not sitting still. On Monday, Iraq's president met with the King of Jordan. According to Jordan's royal court, they spoke about the dangers of this conflict escalating further. Anita Powell, VOA News, the White House.
Now, for more on Iran's unprecedented attack on Israel, we turn to Esther Kabab, who is live with us from the Pentagon. Carla, Israel says it will respond to the attack. What could that attack look like?
Well, Esther, we don't know at this point. This, as you said, this is the first time Iran has struck Israel from its territory directly into Israel's territory. Normally, they use proxy groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, for example. So we're on uncharted territory, and Israel is in a very tough spot. They have to make some hard choices, because if they strike directly into Iranian territory with a kinetic strike, that would certainly escalate the violence at a time where the globe is calling for restraint and de-escalation. I would note that there were Iranian proxies involved in this attack across the region. In fact, the U.S. did strike down a missile that was preparing to launch from Iraq by one of those Iranian proxy groups. So Israel could choose the route of striking an Iranian-backed proxy group. They could try a non-kinetic attack, like a cyber attack. They could try to single out the drone factories or the missile factories used to make these weapons without directly targeting Iran's military. Or they could use some combination of these. We will just have to see what they do.
Carla, Israel and the U.S. are calling Iran's attack a failure. What are you learning from Pentagon officials?
Yes, Pentagon officials here are calling this a big failure for Iran. Iran used about 300 aerial weapons to try to hit Israel. About half of them were drones, about half of them were missiles, and none of the drones actually made it into Israeli territory. Only 5 of the missiles hit Israel, causing very little damage. In fact, a 7-year-old girl was injured by shrapnel. That was the only injury reported. So the U.S. and its partners are calling this a huge success for the coalition that defended Israel. I should note Israel defended itself, but the U.S. was able to shoot down about 80 of those drones and about 6 of those missiles. The U.K., France, and Jordan had their fighter jets and their aircraft shooting down drones as well. And even Saudi Arabia and the UAE were providing intelligence during this counterattack to defend Israel.
Carla, there are also concerns that the escalation could broaden again to U.S. service members in the region. Have there been any new attacks, as far as you know, on U.S. forces in the Middle East?
That is a big concern here. I've been told by officials that to date there have been no new attacks on U.S. forces in the Middle East, U.S. ground forces, I should specify, in the Middle East, but they are on high alert, especially after this attack.
Carla, thank you very much for reporting this to us and keeping us up to date. Carla Kabab is VOA's Pentagon correspondent, live for us there from the Pentagon. Now, moving on, international pressure is building on Israel to hold back in responding to Iran's attacks, but many Israelis are calling on the government to retaliate forcibly. Linda Gradstein reports from Jerusalem.
Iran's attack with hundreds of missiles fired simultaneously was unprecedented. So was the international cooperation to intercept them, with the U.S., Jordan, and Britain working together, say Israeli security officials. As the international community urges restraint, some in Israel say the Jewish state must respond.
I think that we cannot leave this open file without some retaliation. But the kind of retaliation is going to be measured in the sense that Israel doesn't want to lead to a regional war.
Israeli media reports say 2 former chiefs of staff in the war cabinet, Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot, wanted to strike back at Iran while the Iranian attack was underway. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said no. Other Israeli intelligence analysts say the damage was limited and Israel can choose not to respond further.
I'm sure Israel will be able in the future to retaliate in Iran in a different way. We have a lot of capabilities, and I think it will be much more devastating for the Iranians if Israel succeeded, and Israel has to contribute to that in order that it will work, succeed to change the architecture of the Middle East in a way that will be understood that Iran is with its proxies, but all the others are actually cooperating against Iran and its proxies.
Iran's attack came as Israel is under growing international criticism for the humanitarian crisis in Gaza that has left hundreds of thousands of Palestinians facing famine. The U.S. has been pushing Israel to accept a ceasefire that would lead to freedom for the remaining 129 Israeli hostages that Hamas militants took hostage on October 7, although it's not clear how many are still alive. There is concern in Israel that retaliating against Iran could lead to even more pressure on Israel to withdraw from Gaza before it has reached its goals. Linda Gradstein, VOA News, Jerusalem.
Now, for more perspective on this first attack from Iran on the nation of Israel, I'm joined by Arash, the digital managing editor of VOA's Persian News Network. Arash, welcome to Africa 54. Now, what more do we know about Iran's plans after warning it will strike Israel with even greater force if the U.S. or Israel retaliates?
Iranian, I can say, get prepared to any reaction by Israel. We know this weekend they just attacked Israel with drones, missiles, and now they are waiting for any response by Israel. So we got some UGC content from inside Iran. Users send us some video show Iran try to spread the anti-missile system they have. They have some anti-missile system from Russia, S-300 and something like that. And because Iran is a big country, they try to spread the system around the country, and they are waiting to see if any military response get from Israel.
Now, you mentioned Russia. What other countries are supporting Iran in these kind of attacks? Who is supplying weapons and other kinds of
even Russia?
Yeah.
Even Russia is not 100% behind Iran on this tension. They just try to be politically support Iran. For example, 2 days ago there was an urgent session in UN Security Council. Russian representative tried to back Iran, but we don't know anything about any military or on-ground support by Iran.
And how are Iranians reacting to this?
Divided. Any people who close to the government, they are happy, they are supporting any official, but mostly people, no, they are not. Especially right now, inside Iran, Iranian government started putting a lot of pressure on women because of the hijab, and it's looked like they returned to 2 years ago when morality police killed Mahsa Amini in detention center. And just today we received more than 10 videos. Police forces attacked to young women and arrested them because of the hijab. So many people trying to use this opportunity to say they are not agree with the government, and they are trying to put distance between themselves and Iranian government, which attacked to Israel.
Oh, interesting to hear, and actually very concerning to hear that they're turning their, their anger towards women. But what are analysts saying could possibly be the implications if this turns out to be an all-out war?
With all the tension we see between Iran and Israel, both sides try to say we don't want a war. We just want to, proper respond to each other. Iran attacked to Israel because they claim Israel attacked our diplomatic facility, which Israel says, hey, you had 5-6 generals from Quds forces, which they are responsible to attack to Israel. And now Israel wants to respond because of the attacks. So experts, everybody, they don't expect another war. After Russian-Ukrainian war, after Israel-Hamas, nobody wants another big war.
It's too much. Right. Thank you so much, Arash. Arash Sirgalchi is the digital managing editor of VOA's Passion News Network. UN Secretary General Antonio Gutterz says that indiscriminate attacks killing, injuring and terrorizing civilians in Sudan could amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity, and sounded the alarm on escalating fighting in North Darfur.
Indiscriminate attacks that are killing, injuring and terrorizing civilians could amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Aid convoys have been targeted, humanitarian personnel and warehouses have been attacked, women and girls are subject to rampant sexual violence, and meanwhile, the impact of the conflict is spilling across borders. Over 8 million people have fled their homes in search of safety, 1.8 million to neighboring countries. The latest reports of escalating hostilities in El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur, are a fresh cause for deep alarm. Over the weekend, RSF-affiliated militias attacked and burned villages west of the city, leading to widespread new displacement and fears of a takeover of El Fasher, that is the capital of North Darfur, and a city with hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. Fighting continued today on the outskirts of El Fasher. Counterattacks have led to more deaths and injuries. And let me be clear, any attack on El Fasher would be devastating for civilians and could lead to a full-blown intercommunal conflict across Darfur. It would also upend aid operations in an area already on the brink of famine, since El Fasher has always been a critical UN humanitarian hub.
The UN has said nearly 25 million people have, as Sudan's population need aid, and some 8 million have fled their homes. A United Nations-backed Global Authority on Food Security said late last month that immediate action is needed to prevent widespread death and total collapse of livelihoods and avert a catastrophic hunger crisis in Sudan. Still to come in our health report, Leno Mudu tells us about prostate cancer awareness. We'll be right back.
This week on Straight Talk Africa, we're discussing the effectiveness of international organizations in de-escalating conflict. Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, and the war is still hot. In October 2023, Hamas attacked southern Israel, and that sparked an Israeli military response in Gaza, causing a humanitarian crisis. In Sudan, after 1 year of war, millions are facing famine. Join Vincent McCory for an in-depth discussion on mitigating conflict on the next Straight Talk Africa.
Season 4, rocking with the best. Rocking with the best. Season 4, rocking with the best.
In other news, a local official in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo says at least 11 people were killed in extremist-linked rebel attacks on villages over the weekend. The attacks by the Allied Democratic Forces rebels with ties to the Islamic State occurred on Saturday in 4 different places in the commune of Mulekera, according to the mayor. And drug regulators in Tanzania, Rwanda and Zimbabwe are recalling a batch of Johnson & Johnson children's cough syrup as a precautionary measure after Nigeria said laboratory tests found high levels of toxicity. The 3 nations joined Nigeria, Kenya and South Africa in recalling the same batch of the syrup. Hope has arrived in Malawi for elderly people banished from their homes, some over accusations of practicing witchcraft. A charity in the capital is providing shelter and food for these elderly people. Lamek Messina reports from Lilongwe.
24-year-old Deborah Mbali runs Maimbambande Elderly Home in a rural area of Malawi's capital, Lilongwe, hosting 85 elderly people, many from surrounding areas. They include 35 men and 50 women between the ages of 70 and 100.
We provide food for them, we clothe them, we give them basic needs that are needed in the life of an elderly person. And also we take care of their medical bills.
The elderly people here take part in various activities to keep themselves physically fit and try to live life free from worries. Mbali started the foundation in 2020 as a social media platform, interviewing successful women and posting the interviews on Facebook. However, Mbali changed focus in 2022 after noticing the suffering elderly people in Malawi go through.
Elderly people are abused every day. They are stoned, they are killed, some they are burnt because of accusations of witchcraft.
Various local media here have long reported incidents of mob attacks and killings of elderly people suspected of practicing witchcraft. Government statistics show that witchcraft-related attacks and killings targeting elderly persons went up from 21 cases in 2022 to 29 last year. Among the targets was 89-year-old Biniwe Uchabwira, whose children and relatives attacked him last year for allegedly having a hand in the death of his grandson.
When I tried to run away, some people grabbed me by the arms and legs, while others were beating me up on my head. I was severely bruised. One of my children produced a machete to cut my throat.
Chabwera was rescued by members of the community policing in his village. They took him to nearby police station where he was kept for 2 weeks before the Maimbambande charity offered to accommodate him.
I am very comfortable and happy here. Food is available, and without my Bambande, I could have died by now with hunger. And if I were home, people would have killed me over baseless accusations.
Besides providing food, the charity has constructed a house for neglected elderly people lacking decent houses, like Nastima Chikadwara, who is 81 years of age.
I'm now sleeping on the mattress. She built me a house powered by solar electricity. I'm so proud now, but the only problem I face is lack of food.
The charity, however, also welcomes elderly people who stay in their homes but come by to eat breakfast and lunch at the institution. In the meantime, the charity is planning a fundraising dinner on May 31 to raise money for the comfort and happiness of the neglected elderly females. Lamek Masina, VOA News, Lilongwe, Malawi.
It's time for our health segment, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with a look at prostate cancer. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Esther. Prostate cancer is a devastating diagnostic faced by millions of men worldwide. A new analysis by the Lancet Commission suggests the annual prostate cancer cases are estimated to double by 2040. Masters athlete Joe Appiah, renowned for holding multiple European and British records in hurdles, found himself facing an unexpected opponent in 2021, prostate cancer.
I didn't have no symptoms. I wasn't really aware of prostate cancer, but my friend gave me a call and said, I've got this cancer. I said, what do you mean you got this cancer? I mean, he's a similar age to me. And he's also fit and healthy. We knew each other through sport. So I was shocked, but he encouraged me to go and get tested.
Prostate cancer is the most prevalent form of cancer among men, constituting approximately 15% of cancer cases around the world. A recent analysis by the Lancet Commission projects a significant surge in annual prostate cancer cases from 1.4 million in 2020 to 2.9 million by 2040. Professor Nick James, an expert in prostate and bladder cancer at the Institute of Cancer Research, London, and consultant clinical oncologist, underscores the grim reality.
There's around 1.4 million men diagnosed per year with prostate cancer at the moment. That is set to approximately double in the next 10 to 15 years, and almost all of the extra cases are going to occur in low and middle income countries.
Experts say governments must proactively prepare to address this rise in cases by establishing robust systems for early diagnosis and treatment. Additionally,
so raising awareness is a key component of this, and one of the things we highlight is the use of things like social media and smartphone-based technology, both as a tool for disseminating information, because people are very plugged into things like TikTok, Facebook, all these things, but also as a tool for managing them as well, because you can run people's medical records on smartphones. You don't need complex paper-based systems that are remote and often fragmented and poorly joined up.
The 2020 Global CAN program data indicates that cancer of the prostate is the second most diagnosed cancer in men from sub-Saharan Africa. Observers say the recent death of African Americans Lou Gossett Jr. and O.J. Simpson, less than a month apart, serve as a sobering reminder that Black men are more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer and die from it.
The good thing is Marwan has been caught early, and when they did the follow-up test, which was the PET scan, so when they do a PET scan, is to find out whether the cancer has spread from the prostate area. When I did that, mine was within the prostate, so which means that they can do something about it. It gives me much more treatment options.
As Appiah's story demonstrates, early detection through proactive screening can significantly improve treatment outcomes. Now, Professor Bello Abubakar Mohammed is Chief Consultant for Clinical and Radiation Oncologist at the National Hospital in Abuja and the Chair of the National Comprehensive Cancer Network Harmonized Guidelines for Sub-Saharan Africa in Prostate Cancer. He discusses the incidence of prostate cancer in Africa and what can be done.
The incidence of prostate cancer in Africa is really difficult to say for so many reasons. We don't have institutionalized screening programs. We don't have cancer registries across African countries. And indeed, there is no presence of cancer care at all in 22 out of the 54 African countries. And it is important to note that prostate cancer is the #1 cancer in men in sub-Saharan Africa. The easiest way to confirm if someone has prostate cancer is by doing a simple blood test called the prostate-specific antigen, that is PSA. That can save one's life. And we know also that prostate cancer becomes more prevalent as someone gets older. So you start to do the prostate-specific antigen testing from the age of 40. Studies have shown that black men tend to have more testosterone and as a result tend to have more prostate cancers. I think we have a lot of work to do in creating awareness that people need to go to hospital for prevention, screening. And we must also insist that government must institutionalize screening programs as a must, that everyone must do it because of the economic burden. Prostate cancer is an indolent cancer. It is slow growing. So if you detect it early, you can live with it 40 years, 50 years without having any problem. But most of our patients, 86% of our patients are presenting very late when they already have metastasis, when it has spread. And even as that, it is possible to cure prostate cancer.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on X at Lenore Moudou. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks, Lino. Be sure to watch Lino Moudou's health reports every Tuesday on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.